This Christmas is not arriving like the others. It is not merely a season of lights, decorations, gifts, or familiar songs echoing through crowded streets. This Christmas carries a deeper spiritual weight, one that many will feel, but few will fully understand. For those who have endured silent battles, unseen losses, and long nights of unanswered prayers, this Christmas marks a divine turning point. God is not only visiting your story, He is restoring what you lost. Not in the way you expect, but in a way that will heal you completely. What was taken from you? What slipped through your fingers? What was broken by betrayal, time, injustice, or your own mistakes? God has not forgotten any of it. Heaven has kept a record, and this season is a reminder that restoration is not a myth, it is a promise. There are losses that no one sees, losses that don't make headlines or draw sympathy. The loss of peace, the loss of innocence, the loss of trust, the loss of confidence, the loss of direction, the loss of hope. You smiled through holidays while grieving inside. You showed strength while quietly falling apart. You prayed prayers that felt like they disappeared into silence. You waited while others moved ahead. You watched doors close while wondering if God still remembered your name. And yet, even when it felt like heaven was quiet, God was working in hidden ways. Christmas is not just the celebration of Christ's birth. It is the declaration that God enters broken places. He does not wait for things to be perfect. He steps into the mess, into the pain, into the loss, and He brings restoration with Him. Restoration does not always mean God gives back the exact thing you lost in the same form. Sometimes He gives something greater, something deeper, something eternal. You may have lost people, but God is restoring your ability to love without fear. You may have lost time, but God is redeeming it with wisdom and purpose. You may have lost opportunities, but God is opening doors no one can shut. You may have lost your sense of self, but God is rebuilding your identity on a foundation that cannot be shaken. This Christmas, God is not merely comforting you, He is transforming you. What felt like loss was not the end, it was preparation. Think of the Christmas story itself. Mary lost her reputation. Joseph lost his certainty. They lost control of the life they had planned. Yet through that loss, God birthed salvation into the world. Bethlehem was not a palace. It was a place of lack. No room, no comfort, no applause. And yet that is where restoration began, not just for them, but for all humanity. This is how God works. He chooses the overlooked places, the forgotten people, the moments that seem insignificant. If your life feels like a Bethlehem season, quiet, painful, unnoticed, understand this: God does His greatest work in humble places. This Christmas is also about healing what was broken inside you. Some wounds are not visible to the eye, but they shape everything you do. Rejection, abandonment, failure, loss. These leave scars that time alone cannot erase. But God does not merely cover wounds, He heals them. Restoration is not pretending the pain never happened. It is allowing God to bring beauty from it. The scars remain, but they no longer hurt. They become testimonies. They become reminders that you survived what was meant to destroy you. You may feel that you lost years to waiting, years to confusion, years to suffering. But God does not waste seasons. Even your waiting had purpose. Even your tears were counted. Even your silence was sacred. This Christmas, God is restoring your faith. Not blind faith, but mature faith. Faith that has been tested, refined, and strengthened. Faith that no longer depends on circumstances, but rests in God's character. You are no longer the same person who lost those things. You are wiser now, stronger, more discerning, and because of that, what God is restoring will last. There is also a restoration of joy coming to those who forgot how to feel it. Not temporary happiness, but deep, unshakable joy. The kind of joy that exists even when life is not perfect. The joy that comes from knowing God is with you, for you, and ahead of you. Christmas joy is not loud for everyone. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like a gentle assurance in your heart, whispering, "You're going to be okay. I am here." That whisper is enough to change everything. For some, God is restoring relationships this Christmas. Not always by bringing people back, but by bringing closure, peace, and freedom. You no longer need validation from those who couldn't see your worth. God is teaching you that losing some people saved you from losing yourself. Restoration sometimes means release. It means letting go of what no longer aligns with who God is shaping you to be. This Christmas, God is also restoring your purpose. You may have felt lost, unsure of where you belong or what you are meant to do. But purpose is not always loud or obvious. Sometimes it begins with healing. Sometimes it begins with rest. Sometimes it begins with learning to trust again. God is not rushing you. He is rebuilding you carefully, intentionally, lovingly. What He is preparing you for requires the strength He is restoring now. Do not compare your restoration to others. God works uniquely with each soul. What looks delayed to you is perfectly timed in heaven. This Christmas is not about what you see. It is about what God is doing behind the scenes. The restoration happening now may not be fully visible, but it is deeply real. You will look back one day and realize this was the season everything began to change. So if you are entering this Christmas feeling tired, broken, or uncertain, know this: you are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are standing at the edge of restoration. God is returning strength where there was weakness, clarity where there was confusion, peace where there was chaos, and hope where there was despair. What was stolen will not define you. What was lost will not limit you. What was broken will not end you. This Christmas, God is restoring what you lost, not just externally, but within your soul. And what He restores will be greater, deeper, and more meaningful than what you had before. Trust the process. Trust His timing. Trust His heart. The light has entered the darkness again, and this time it is shining for you. This Christmas, God is also restoring something you stopped believing could ever return: your sense of safety in Him. Somewhere along the journey, disappointment taught you to guard your heart. You learned to expect less so it wouldn't hurt as much. You prayed, but with hesitation. You trusted, but only halfway. Life trained you to survive instead of hope. But Christmas is God's reminder that He is still Emmanuel, God with us. Not God watching from a distance. Not God waiting for you to fix yourself. God with you in the ache, in the uncertainty, in the unanswered questions. Restoration begins the moment you allow yourself to believe again, even if that belief feels fragile. You did not lose because you were weak. You lost because you were chosen to walk a path that required refinement. Some lessons cannot be learned in comfort. Some strength cannot be developed without pressure. God allowed certain things to fall apart because they could not go with you into your next season. What you called loss, heaven called separation. What you called delay, heaven called alignment. And what you called pain, heaven called preparation. This Christmas, you're not standing empty-handed. You are standing purified, aware, and ready. There are prayers you prayed years ago that are still alive in heaven. God did not ignore them. He protected them. Some blessings arrive only when your heart is mature enough to handle them. If God had answered too soon, you might have broken under the weight of what you asked for. Now, after endurance, after humility, after growth, restoration can come without destroying you. This is why the waiting was long. This is why the silence was heavy. This is why Christmas feels different now. Because you are different. God is restoring your voice this season. You stayed quiet for too long. You learned not to speak because no one listened. You learned not to explain because you were misunderstood. But your silence was never meant to be permanent. The wisdom you gained through loss is meant to be shared. The compassion you developed through suffering is meant to heal others. God never wastes pain. He transforms it into purpose. This Christmas, your story will begin to make sense, not just to you, but to those who will be healed by hearing it. You may notice that things are shifting subtly. Your reactions are changing. Your tolerance for negativity is fading. Your desire for superficial connections is disappearing. This is restoration at work. God is recalibrating your spirit. He is teaching you discernment, how to recognize what drains you and what nourishes you. You are no longer desperate for approval. You are learning contentment. You are learning peace. And peace is one of the greatest restorations God gives. This Christmas also carries a message of forgiveness. Not for those who hurt you, but for yourself. You blamed yourself for staying too long, trusting too deeply, loving too sincerely. But God never condemns a heart that loved genuinely. What you gave was real. What they did with it was their responsibility. This season, God is lifting shame off you. He is reminding you that you did the best you could with what you knew then. Forgiving yourself is part of restoration. Do not be surprised if God restores your dreams in a new form. Some dreams had to die, so better ones could be born. What once motivated you may no longer excite you, and that is okay. Growth changes vision. God is not taking things away to punish you. He is making room for something higher. This Christmas, let go of old expectations and allow God to exceed them. Even if you are celebrating this Christmas quietly, even if there are empty seats at the table, even if memories feel heavier than gifts, God is near. He is closer to the brokenhearted than ever. Restoration often begins in solitude, where distractions fade and truth becomes clear. You are not alone in your quiet. Heaven is attentive. One day you will look back at this season and realize it was not the end of your story. It was the turning point. The moment when God gently but firmly began restoring what you thought was gone forever. Not all at once, not loudly, but faithfully. This Christmas, choose to trust again. Not because life has proven itself safe, but because God has proven himself faithful. What he is restoring now will not be temporary. It will be rooted. It will be lasting. And it will carry his peace with it. And when restoration fully unfolds, you will understand why it had to happen this way. You will see that nothing was truly lost. Everything was transformed.